Hi, everybody. My name is Bob, and I am a grateful recovering alcoholic. I have some experience with these steps. I've been through the process with a loving higher power, which I choose to call God. 2 Big Book Step 7 sponsors, very understanding and kind. People like you and meetings like these. I am currently working my living amends, and I work 10, 11, and 12 on a daily basis. For me, this is kind of surreal. When it came to step 10 for me in the beginning, I'll give you a little background on myself. I was born to alcoholic parents. My mother and father were both alcoholic. I was the product of a one-night stand at the Medford VFW dance. Okay. My mother, who had been abandoned at the age of 3 with her and her brother, and left in orphanages, was abused most of her life. So when she had me, needless to say, she couldn't really take care of me. So for first 2 years, the first year I spent with her, the second year I spent in a foster home in Lynn. So being born in Medford, Mass, and then thrown into Lynn, and then sent out to Worcester. So you can imagine how that was. Okay, can you hear me?
I don't know, is the mic on?
Yeah, it's good. How's that?
Yes.
Yay! See, I got something right today. So basically, I was born to alcoholic parents, and like I said, eventually I was adopted by the parents I have today. Without those parents, I would not be sitting here in front of you. That I know for a fact. Alcohol was a part of my life from a very early age. My father was not an alcoholic. He was a Marine, 2 tours in Korea. My mother was an RN. The family was fairly big on both sides. So I was the youngest of the grandchildren. So the family functions were, there was alcohol at them, whether it be a barbecue, whether it be a Christmas party, whatever, a birthday, it was there. So me being the youngest of the grandchildren, I did what my siblings did. I followed them around and did what they did because I wanted to fit in. And it's pretty much what I did. But when I saw them take something out of a cup that was put on the table, I says, I got to try that. And I did. And that cup happened to be a Dixie cup that had Manischewitz grape wine in it. And the only reason I remember this is because of me going through these steps, through this process. So here I am. I've got this cup in my hand, and I knock it back. And I tasted grape all of 2 seconds. And then I felt it burn against the back of my throat. I felt it warm down into my stomach, and I felt it. So right off the bat, I was drinking for a fact and didn't know it. So as time goes on, my childhood was normal. I did fairly good in school. I was all city and all state in band and orchestra, playing saxophone and clarinet. I also did play baseball, and I played hockey. And I was quite good at it. As I turned 13 years old, thoughts of, things of other good nature came into mind. One of them was, I'd go down in my father's fridge downstairs, and he had a 6-pack of Schaefer. Now, needless to say, my father had the 6-pack of Schaefer in the fridge, but there was 1 can left, and he had bought that a year earlier. So I could not fathom or understand how someone could have a 6-pack of anything in the refrigerator and not have it done in like 6 minutes. Never mind a year. So these are the thoughts that started going through my head. And at the ripe old age, I think it was 15 or 16, my father bought a liquor store in my junior year in high school. Yes, I had arrived. Okay? So here I am, and you know what? Being brought up and raised by my parents with a good work ethic and, you know, helping family, you know, I would help. I'd fill the cooler. Then one day it was July, and it was hot. And I'm in there filling the cooler. And dawn breaks on Marblehead. I can have a beer while I'm filling the cooler. Or maybe I can have 10. Okay, now, back in the day, adoption records weren't as open as they are today. So there were little secrets that were kept hidden in those records. Whether the parents had problems with alcohol and or drugs and or mental illness. That wasn't made available to the adopted parents. So my parents never knew. My mother had an idea because she was an RN, but my father didn't. My father said it was a phase I was going through. So when my father found the empties in the cooler, and he pretty much told me, he said, you know, Bob, he says, if you're going to drink in the cooler, he says, please, you know, make sure you get rid of your empty so that if the liquor commission comes in here, we don't get in any trouble. So I'm like, okay, I take that as pick up after myself and that I can drink in the cooler for my free will. Hallelujah. So this progression kept going, okay, to the point where, you know, I thought it was normal. You know, my parents didn't think there was a problem. I wasn't getting in trouble with the law. You know, an occasional speeding ticket here and there. Yeah. But nothing out of the ordinary. As I was graduating, getting ready to graduate high school, was the first time I settled for less. I had gotten the option to go to Holy Cross College, to go to the Air Force Academy. I had the grades, I had the physical aptitude, along with the mental aptitude. All I had to do was score like a 1,500 on my SATs. But what did Bob do? Bob went out on a Friday night. Bob went to the keg party with the bonfire and the Led Zeppelin, and the other things that go along with those parties. Needless to say, I was still drunk the next morning, took my SATs and scored a lot less than 1,500. So I started settling for less, and I didn't even know it. But I thought that was normal. I didn't think anything different. Time goes on, I end up in the Air National Guard. Okay, doing what I do today, working for the largest phone company in America. And I've been doing that for 29 years. It's a love. It's a gift from God. So anyway, here I am tending bar at what they called the Skyline Club. Okay, there were two of us in the bar on that night. I'm tending bar because if you tended bar, you drank for free. Right there. So the long and the short of it, here we are, two of us, about 5:30 at night, sitting there. There's nobody else in the bar. And my idea is, why don't we do a shot of everything that's behind the bar? See, I know I'm in the right place. And this is how it went, and it progressed. It did not stop there. I moved upstate New York, you know, and the drinking just progressed. It was just a different situation. Different people, different places, and different things, just bringing myself. So finally, I came back to Boston, working in the Prudential Center, and I ended up meeting a girl up in Haverhill, Mass. The girl of my dreams. She drank just like I did. She had 4 children, 3 boys and a girl. The oldest was 8, the youngest was 2. Being adopted, I said, you know what, this, to me, was a match. So shortly after about a year of living together, we got married. We moved to Worcester. Here I am, making close to 6 figures. We have a house, literally a house with a white picket fence. Really. 4 purebred pugs. A $60,000 Mercedes in the driveway. My wife was driving a brand new Dodge Durango. Everything, had everything. But there was something missing. Didn't know what it was, couldn't put my finger on it. So one day I went to work. I went and I did a job. And it was early in the morning. And I finished about 10 o'clock. And it was kind of complex, but I fixed it. And the ego that I had was not short of enormous. And the guy said, "Thank you for a great job. I really appreciate it. How about a beer?" And what did Bob say? Sure. And the next thing I remember, it's 8 o'clock at night, and my phone is ringing, and it's my wife wondering where I'm at. Not to mention that there were other things involved with the alcohol. So that was my first trip of many, 6 that I remember, to AdCare Hospital. And when I went in there the first time, I was sincere about it. I knew that something was up. But after I got in there and I started going through the process that they had laid out, I started to feel better. Feeling better? Can't be anything wrong. So what do? I get back out and I proceed to do my thing yet again. And I end up in there again. This time, I am in AdCare, and there are people who came to speak from the Air National Guard, who were with me in the Air National Guard, that are in this program. All of them, I knew them all. And I got with one of them, and he says, "When you get out of here," he says, come to Tuesday night, and he says, "I'll introduce you around and we'll get you started." So that was my first introduction to AA. And there I met my first sponsor, who, upon suggestion to identify and not compare, I started to identify with this man. He was a lot older than I was, but I could really identify with him. So I asked him to be my sponsor, temporarily. And he took me on full time. So as time goes on, I go through the steps, up through step 4 with him. And up to that point, it was Bob doing it Bob's way. I listened to my sponsor only when it suited me, not when I was supposed to. So along comes the day where my wife tells me, "Guess what? I'm pregnant. And we're going to have a baby girl." I had arrived. I was sober. Almost over 4 years, and I was going to have a baby, go through that process. I think that's awesome. Life couldn't have been better. Almost the day that my daughter was born was the day that I picked up for the second time. And nothing too proud of, but that's what happened. It's because I hadn't been working a program. It's bottom line. So I go through the 12 steps, go through AdCare again for another, at least I would have, that I can remember, 5 times. Okay? By the time I was done, I'm living back home. My father had passed away in 2014. It is now 2017. I can't walk because I have slipped and fell because I was drunk, and I tore muscles in my leg and hurt my lower back. And I was drinking so much, I didn't know I had caused all this damage. Living at home, and my mother's about ready to kick me out of the house. I didn't have a penny to my name. I was driving a pickup truck. My family, my wife had divorced me. I was estranged from my children, my 8-year-old daughter. I had nothing. I was drinking a 36-pack of Coors Light a day at a minimum, and thinking I was hiding the empties in my closet. Yeah, these people know. I got to the point where I was laying on my bed, and instead of saying to God, get me out of this, because I had been raised Catholic, I had a God of my understanding that I believed in. And I'm laying on that bed shaking, and I looked up and I said, God, I says, if you're not going to help me, please take me, because I don't want the other people that are around me to suffer, and I don't want to suffer anymore. So shortly after that, I ended up back in ad care for the last time. So go through the same process, everything. I end up in IOP again. I have this IOP counselor who I've had the same 5 times. His name is Mark. He's a Miami Dolphins fan, but I don't hold it against him. The man saved my life. He's pointing across the room, like I'm pointing at you, the magic marker in his hand, saying, I promise you, if you work the 12 steps as they're laid out in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, with a Big Book Step Study sponsor, who has also been through the 12 steps, and you work those steps every day in your life, so I promise you, you will never pick up a drink again. And that was the first time in probably about 13 years that I had heard anything. And that hurt right in the heart. And I pointed right back at him and I said, you promise? And he said, yes. So I surrendered that day. I got myself my first sponsor. Okay? I know this is AA Big Book Step Study. Men with the men, women with the women. But at this point in time, I had had no running luck with men. I had a woman who took me through the first 3 steps, and if it wasn't for her, I would not be sitting up here. Because she told me to sit down and shut up and do as she told. I sat in those chairs right over here behind Joe, and she said, this is what you're going to say. This is when you're going to say it. She met me every Tuesday, every Friday, and every Saturday through the first 3 steps. And then she handed me off to my sponsor, who I have today, and who took me through 4 through 12. Now, in coming to step 10, for me, you know, when I had done my step 4, I had cleaned up the wreckage of my past, dug up all the dirt, all that nasty stuff that had been sitting in the bottom of my soul. And it wasn't easy. It was not at all. But I did it. And I prayed for help. And I talked to my sponsor. And I talked to people in these halls. And I got through it. Okay? And when I got to this step, you know, if this had been said to me during step 1, saying that this is not an overnight matter, it should continue for our lifetime, I would have said, see you later. I was at that point when I got to this. That yes, now that I've got my side of the street clean, I still have these character defects. And I am going to have them for the rest of my life. I am not perfect. I am an alcoholic. I am not God by any stretch of the imagination. Even though I thought I was at one time. But there were other substances involved in that. I love what I got highlighted here, which is what I looked at last night. Continue to watch for selfishness, dishonesty, resentment, and fear. For me, doing step 10, for other people, to each their own. For me, it's a daily thing, okay? And sometimes I start my day over, okay? But there's something, every day, I usually take some time and I sit down in the quiet and I go through my day. Now, do I rip myself apart like I used to at every stupid thing that I ever did? That, you know what, I walked on the wrong side of the street? Oh my goodness. You know, things, you know, just tear myself apart. No, I did not. I was told, guess what? You are sober today, right? So, yeah. So that's one good thing you did. Okay. I'm looking at this saying, okay, it's got to be a balance. And I was told that when I came into this program, you have to have balance or find it. And it was going to be one of the hardest things. And boy, they weren't kidding. At this point, I go through and I do my daily inventory. I do it. And yes, I have done, and I will continue to screw up. Okay? I don't beat myself up over it. It's God trying to teach me a lesson, the God of my understanding. I used to beat myself up because I had no self-esteem and no self-confidence, because I wasn't working a program. So at this point, you know, I go through and I put the credits along with the debits. Okay? And yes, some days the debits outweigh the credits. Does that mean I'm going to stop? No. Why? Why do you say that? Because I got hope today. I've got a life second to none. When I came in here, and doing it my way, I couldn't walk. I was walking with a walker. I couldn't hold my own bowels. Okay? I have diabetes, type 2. And I was going blind. All because I was doing it my way. Now my eyes are healing. My diabetes has gotten a lot better. And obviously, I'm able to walk, almost run today. That's a blessing, and I know where it came from. Okay, there's no doubt in my mind. I've had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. Okay, and I'm sitting here flesh and bone. So if you're an atheist, which is fine, all you have to do is believe that I believe that if you work these 12 steps, they'll work for you. Okay, because they are. So I'll leave you with this. I have a very good friend in this program. We've been friends for many years. And I made an off-color remark to a friend of mine about this person. Not thinking, old habits, old behaviors coming back, because I think I got it made. Well, you know, this person found out and confronted me, and I told the truth straight out. I said, yes, I did, and I was very sorry, and I was. And I realized not only that I hurt somebody yet again, but that I seriously damaged a relationship that I never thought I'd be able to repair again. But it's after going through this and going through these steps, I have learned that, you know, things are better than they were. And I pray on it that I don't fall down that same rabbit hole again. And that this friend can find their forgiveness in their heart. Even though they've said it, there's been some hurt. For me, it's like this. I mean, I have to keep it as simple as this. Each and every day. I'm powerless over people, places, and things. It is not my plan. It is my higher power's plan. And I have to learn to accept it. Because as it says in here, it says, thy will, not mine. My definition of good today is doing the next right thing. working the 12 steps and staying sober one day at a time, being of service to others, helping, not hurting, being a part of the solution, not part of the problem. And with that, I want to thank you for allowing me to share.